All right, welcome back to PI High School Football Report, the 34 Waggle edition. It's unbelievable to me. We're 4 weeks into the season already.
Yeah.
I cannot believe we are gone finite 4 weeks of the season. Coming in mid-year, teams are starting to stack up. We had our first division games in the Mid-Penn Conference, and we are coming to you for the first time from the bowels of PennLive, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Accurate.
Yeah,
that's
fair.
a fair assessment. We didn't do much decorating
No.
to the studio yet. They bought us a whole brand new studio just for you and me.
Yep.
Right? So we got that going for us. They like us. That's good. But we need some jazz.
Yeah.
We need to jazz this up a little bit. So the first thing we brought in, Dan, you could feature it.
Look at this. We've got a beautiful Upper Dauphin area Trojans football. Needs a little air. Feels
Perfect.
A little bit like late 2000s Patriots football.
It's a little wobbly. Yeah, it's a little off a little bit.
Yeah.
But we have another piece. We got a little GA.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm working the GA lid today.
Could be coming into
But if
play later today.
hey, listen, if you want to send in something, it doesn't have to be a $3,000 beautiful piece.
No.
If you have a piece of clothing, a nice jersey, a hat, you want to send in, we'll lay it all out.
Yeah, we're not above it.
Just
absolutely.
We were told just don't paint the walls.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't go near the walls. They're beautiful pearl white. I don't know what you would call that.
Yeah. Eggshell.
And this thing is glorious.
Yeah.
It might have a seizure, but it's all right. So anyway, I'm Eric Epler from PennLive. That's colleague Dan Sostek. We are powered here by PennLive, and of course, this is the PA High School Football Report early edition. We like to call it the Waggle edition. We are sponsored by UPMC and all the great folks over there. Today, we are going to quickly chat, Dan. By the way, I wanted to talk. I always like to talk Patriots with you. So give me the quick breakdown of the Pats this week.
All right. I think the only thing worth talking about is that Cedar Crest kicker Chad Riley made his first career field goal, 49 yards, perfect. So Eastern Michigan, Cedar Crest. That's all we have to talk about that game. Nothing else happened. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to complain about. Like anytime I talk to my friends who aren't Patriots fans, they don't really care because they just say 6 Super Bowls, and it's a fair counter. But this team's a little more fun to watch than my college alma mater at this point, and we definitely don't have to talk about the Pitt Panthers. So. Yeah,
No, let's not talk about that one. That game,
but
we talked about that a little bit over a text message
Yeah.
exchange. That backed up college football for a few years, for
Yeah.
sure, that one against WVU.
Yeah,
Woo, that was a stinker.
yeah, yeah. Again, when a Mac Jones-led offense is the most fun football you get to watch in your fandom, that's when you know you have some issues. So
Exactly. All right. Dan, we mentioned a little bit earlier, we're going to talk about a handful of guys today that we think have made a real big difference. And these guys don't throw the ball, they don't catch the ball, certainly because they're old. They don't tackle people because you don't want.
although you don't know, some of my guys might tackle some people.
Some of them might, yeah.
Yeah.
But normally that's a quick ACL. You don't want anything like that once you get over 30 years old. But anyway, we're talking coaching today. Coaching obviously is a monster part of a team's success, and not just the head coach, but the assistant coaches are a product of the head coach. He brings them along and things like that. So we're going to name 3 guys each, and we'll start with you. On you really have made a big difference so far in your over the first 4 weeks, and also too. Coming off the seasons from last year and the turnover that some of these guys have dealt with. Some guys have dealt with injuries in preseason and losing guys. And, of course, we always have a good amount of transfers here in Central PA. The dreaded R word. So give me a guy. Let's start off with you. Give me a coach who you think has done a tremendous job here in the first 4 weeks.
Oh, I'm not beating around the bush. I'm going with our pick for last year's Coach of the Year. I think you can make an argument. The job Bob Bowden has done at West Perry so far has even superseded the job he did last year because they've started 4-0 like they did a year ago. I think it might almost be the exact same schedule they had a year ago.
Yep.
And these wins might not even be as as the margins might have not been as big as they were a year ago. But I'm coming away even more impressed. And I mean, maybe it's because I was there on Friday night for probably one of the more impressive wins I think this West Perry program has had in a long time. Just a total grinded out 19-16 win over a Trinity team that, let's face it, has more talent than the West Perry football team does. You can beat around it if you want, but I mean, one team has Messiah Mickens, the other doesn't, and it's not just that. I think Trinity has a bigger offensive line. You know, the speed position players are faster, the DBs are faster, but Bob Bowden just has those kids every week, and it might be this core specifically, just has them ready to run through a brick wall in a way that I don't think any coach in the conference has. When you said these coaches don't tackle, I feel like Bob Bowden's ready to go.
Bob Bowden may tackle, yeah.
Yeah.
We talk fishing. He likes to bring in big tuna.
Yeah.
I think maybe even marlin. He would probably tackle those some guys.
But the physicality has kind of a undersized line playing with to kind of give Marcus Quaker those spaces, to kind of get Ian Goodling those chances to, get that extra second to create separation. I mean, they lost Trent Herrera last year. They've replaced him with Brad Hockenberry, who is not I don't think he's quite the shifty player Trent Herrera was, but he is a really good football player as well. And you look at kind of the state of, their classification. We know what happened last year to Wyomissing. Wyomissing barely beat Trinity. West Perry barely beat Trinity. The stuff doesn't always work out like that.
Sure.
But I think it tells you that they're a team that they have a bunch of kids that are ready to kind of go out on their shield, and I think Bob Bowden's really tapped into that.
The thing I like about West Perry is they play with a chip, but they don't show the chip.
No, it's because they're disciplined football,
right?
Yeah.
And they don't allow it to. They don't allow it to drop over the bank. You know what I mean? It's just sort of like I believe they always feel a little underappreciated, maybe because it's where they're located, maybe because, it's a Perry County team, and Perry County teams traditionally don't have powerful, physical, powerful football teams because they're mostly smaller schools. So I think there's some of that going on, but you're right about Bob and the fact that and this is a common theme that you'll have with your three guys and the three guys that I picked, and I think maybe we cross over, I'm not sure, but is just the effort.
Yeah.
If he's got 30 kids, they play max effort. If he's got 75 kids that can mix in, all 75 guys are playing. They all buy into the system. You hear that a lot, buying in this, you buy into the coach's system, whether they're running the veer or they're running, 5 wide, whatever. Bob Bowden gets maximum effort out of every kid that walks in that locker room. And that, to me, is the ultimate sign of not only respect for what he's doing, but basically why he's successful.
Yeah, and he knows who he has, too.
Because of those reasons that you mentioned. They're always outsized along the front, but they're never outworked. Yeah. And that goes a long way into getting to those 10, 11-win seasons. And, of course, last year's giving him a crack, at a district title. So, he's been impressive since I got to know him, years ago. And obviously he's continuing that trend.
Yeah, and
4-0.
And also some credit goes to TJ Quaker too, who's done a really good job. He's got a really good staff with him as well. So, it's been really fun to watch this group of West Perry. I think we give him a lot of credit, but it's because, like you said, you don't always see teams like this kind of rise into the level, especially from that area, and it's cool to see, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My first guy is I'm going to stay a little bit up along the river and say Halifax.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Roy Wall at Halifax. And I don't know if anybody has looked at the Liberty Division, those 7 teams, and the way it is. Again, we're only 1 week in to the Liberty slate. But Halifax is 3-1. Why is that significant? Because Halifax hasn't been 3-1 in 5 years.
Yeah.
They haven't had more than 1 win in 5 years. And it's been a combination. It's not all because we have lesser talent or things that it's a numbers game with them. There were I think at one point 2 years ago they were at like 21 guys.
Yeah.
Well, you need 21 often. Everybody was on the field all the time. So how do you really replicate? How do you really go 100 miles an hour in practice when you have 21 guys, 22 guys? You get 1 or 2 injuries, the season's done. You can't play. You got to start forfeiting. So they've had some of those too. But Roy has really walked in, and he's a veteran guy. He's been around for a long time at various spots, and they really, he's walked in and done a tremendous job. Yes, The schedule now is going to get a little tougher once they get into Liberty Division.
And that's going to be a theme with some of our guys, but it's about doing what you need to do.
It's just, again, you always hear it, play the teams that are in front of you. And for them to start 3-1 is miraculous.
Yeah.
It really is. So they finally have a little bit of buzz around the program, which is always a great thing. Confidence, whatever. And I think they'll compete.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is compete for those guys because they were getting 40 point losses in the last couple of years, and it's just that's no fun for anybody.
No.
So
and it's the way they're winning too, right? It's that they're winning 43-6, not
right. It's not just they're not just scoring points, but they're holding the opposition too. So that's probably the most impressive out of any Mid-Penn coach right now. I think Roy Wall is doing the best job in the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, and I think this coming week will tell a lot about the team too because they're going against a Juniata team that's probably one of the more misleading 1-3 records.
Yes,
in
absolutely.
The conference. They're a good football team with we picked them last year. Jasper Shep's one more underrated player, so really big opportunity for them. And I'm kind of going on a similar route, not in terms of going to the Liberty Division, but in terms of a team that might not have the craziest wins in terms of quality of opponent, although some of the wins are starting to look a little better now. I'm going with Devin McCauley at Greencastle Antrim. I look at that. We don't plan these things.
No.
But we've kind of talked about before that Greencastle has been a program that since Coach Chuck Tonitis has retired has been kind of looking to kind of get back to where they've been in the past, and it's been tough. Franklin County's kind of been dominated by Shippensburg football the past 4 or 5 years. Greencastle's 4-0. They have wins. Their opening week win. I think it was kind of easy to kind of scoff at it early on in the year against Big Spring, a 17-14 win. That win looks pretty
darn good right now.
Yeah, pretty darn good because Big Spring's they might have the best running back duo in the in Connor Green and Grant Hall, and they held them to 14 points. This team is winning with defense, which is kind of not the way I think this team has been built the last few years under Devin McCauley. I think it's what they've been building to. It's just been a matter of they've had to outscore teams because their best players tended to be guys like Tavon Cooper and things, and players like that, David Niebauer. This year, they're coming off a rivalry win over Waynesboro. That's a tongue twister. 17-10 win. And they're going to be going against pretty much this week. They're going against another one of my coach's picks that we'll get into later. The Colonial Division's wide open. It's wide open, and all you can ask from a coach like Devin McCauley is to have a team that let's face it, no one pegged this team to be in the mix for a Colonial Division title. No one.
Right.
I don't even think Devin picked them to win the division,
Exactly.
which is sometimes which I always respect because it means the coach is kind of either trying to keep their kids grounded or set realistic expectations, but they're right there, and it feels like they have an identity where they're going to be able to kind of grind out defensive wins and score if they need to. I've been very impressed with what they've done. I think it's been a long time coming, and Devin's a really good dude. He's a guy who's kind of kept a level head even when things haven't gone well, which I think is super important at a program like Greencastle, and I think it's starting to pay dividends now.
Yeah, for the longest time, too, you ran one system at Greencastle. You knew exactly what you were going to get. You always got physical play from a Chuck Tonitis coach team. And Devin has really continued that. Yeah, it looks a little different now. But Devin has really continued that. And that's been a big earner for Greencastle is they're a lot more physical than people think.
Yeah.
You kind of lose track, especially in the Metroplex here, where we're a little bit jaded in the Metroplex in Harrisburg. You've got the mighty Cougars and the Central Dolphins won a state title, and Cumberland Valley's massive. They got 9,000 kids, not that many, but you know what I'm saying.
It's close.
So we have these big schools that kind of suck up, a lot of the attention when it comes to football, and the Metroplex lose sight of the Franklin County teams, short of Shippensburg the last couple of years, but. This is a great program.
Yeah.
This really is a great program. And I love Cayley Field. It's awesome. It's a great place to watch a football game.
Yeah.
The people are awesome. So if I can get a flight down, to Greencastle sometime soon, I'm going.
I heard they're cheap on Southwest.
I love it. Southwest, or what's that one?
Spirit?
Yeah, Spirit Airlines. Yeah, they fly into Greencastle, right? Or Hagerstown.
Yeah, I think you got to go to Hagerstown.
Can I get a little puddle jumper to Hagerstown?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, moving on. My last two are we're sticking in the Keystone Division. This is a big quick guy, Colin Gillen. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with this pick.
No.
At Cedar Cliff. The Colts had plenty of turnover, particularly up front, and you know how I love the trench guys. They make everything happen. And obviously when you're trying to refit, and I don't want to say reload because that's not the right word in this case, but when you're trying to refit your offensive line and find the right combination, and you look this good this early, I don't know if you're a little bit, are you surprised at your success, or you're like, wow, like this, how do we fit them all in the right? Because, most guards can play center, are really good at center, Tackles, maybe you have a right or left situation, where they're better off.
But totally reshuffle.
But to reshuffle guys and basically set them in place, and you have a really hard-nosed quarterback in Bennett Seacrest. We saw that last year. We saw it during the baseball season. The kid's an athlete. And then you've got these guys like Nathan Lusk around him who are just
football player,
pure gamers.
Yeah.
If you put Nathan Lusk at, tight end, well, he's a tight end, but he's going to excel. You put him in the slot, he's going to excel. If you ran him out of a wildcat formation, he's going to excel.
Yeah.
That's the kind of kid he is. So, and there's a couple of those guys on Cedar Cliff too. So that always helps. But 4-0 is 4-0. They got a monster game, obviously, this week to compete against Bishop McDevitt. But I think they will compete. And it's just because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
And that's a reflection of the coach.
Yeah. I mean, I've just said for years, like, if there's kind of a toss-up game in our pick'ems that I don't know who I'm going to win, and Cedar Cliff's on one of the sides, I tend to just kind of circle Cedar Cliff.
Lean, yeah.
Yeah, because I just think Colin Gillen's a coach that, he is. I think it's so important for these schools to establish identities, and Cedar Cliff has one of the most firmly established identities that kids know pretty much from the time they're growing up in the West Shore, and know they're going to be Cedar Cliff Colts, and they know they want to play football. They know they're going to have to either be a good offensive lineman, be able to block for rushers, be able to get open. And,
right.
I mean, but it is a ground and pound program, and they have that identity down to the T. And then the defense, I mean, we haven't really talked about, but it's been a pretty opportune turnover defense. And like you said, they might be 4-1 after this week, but I can't imagine they're gonna just go in and fold over to because Bishop McDevitt is Bishop McDevitt. So I think that's a good opportunity to kind of flex their muscles, even if it might not end up in the W column. And I'm kind of on a similar boat. I'm going to a program we've talked a lot about too this year, and there's pretty much no reason not to talk about this program because, based on this week, there's a real chance we could be looking at a team with a 0 at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's possible.
And I'm talking about John Denniston and the East Pennsboro Panthers, and we've mentioned this on the pod before. John Denniston, media day, tells us, hey, I think our team last year was really good, and it was just injuries that kind of caught up to us. And, we're kind of jaded media people. We kind of roll our eyes sometimes. We're like, all right, coach, we get it. You think the team was good, but
right.
They had injuries. Every team has injuries, whatever. I think he's winning that argument right now because they are not just winning football games. They are winning them impressively. I mean, I think last week's win, you can throw out Gettysburg's record. That's a really good football team. Yeah. They beat them up badly in the program's 1,000th career game. This is a team that can win in a lot of ways. The offense, I think, has been way better than anyone could have expected, and you have to give a lot of credit to Trey Good there. But I think this is just a team where John Denniston has kind of figured out the pieces, figured out how to use these guys, because they're not the biggest roster in the Colonial Division at all. They have a kind of core group of guys with Keith Oates, who does everything for that team. Trey Good, who is just, after missing all of last year, has been one of the most electric players in the conference so far. You have Breckenstrope, who is an elite athlete. I mean, he's a pole vault champion who is one of the better deep threats in the area. And then J.J. Gossard's kind of come out of nowhere. John Dennison has really found the right mix of how to use these guys and keep other teams off balance. And you look at their strength of schedule now. They have a win over Milton Hershey, who's a good football team. They have a win over Gettysburg's a good football team. And, Palmyra's a pretty good one, York Suburban. Just a really good job by John Denniston. And like I said, yeah, you don't want to say 10-0. I don't think even he wants to, but they've got a chance. They have Greencastle this week, so one of our coaches is going to be fine.
One of our coaches is going to get the first L. Yeah, I agree with you everything about Denniston too, and I think they sort of we probably should have talked a little bit more about East Pennsylvania, especially in the preseason. But what I like about these guys too, and I like that they are, and again, don't take this the wrong way, but it's a no-name defense.
Yeah.
Playing as 11, you know what I mean? All hats in one spot.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I couldn't really say, well, these two guys are really, really good and they complement. These are 11 really good defenders that do their job, do it very, very well. They got a lot more speed than people give them credit for. They're a lot more physical than people give East Pennsylvania credit for. And I think that's on the possibility of being 10-0, I think that's the part that will sneak up on teams.
Yeah.
Once they get on top of them, next thing you know, because of Keith Oates firing the pill already and Good and Goss and Brecken swooping these guys, you're down 24-0.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's, I think, is their biggest strength. And defensively, man, I've enjoyed watching the highlights. I haven't seen them in person yet, but I've enjoyed watching the highlights of their defense. Because we know Oates and what the offense can do. All right, my last guy real quick is Josh Borelli at Lower Dauphin. To me too, it just feels like the Falcons just go about their business. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And we haven't even talked one point because he has not played yet in Ty Milheims, who was their hammer coming into the season. We talked a long way at Media Day with Ty, and this was supposed to be his time. I don't know how bad the injury is. I don't know if he's going to make it back. I mean, we're already heading into week 5. We have not seen him play yet. So to say that the rest of the Falcons have stepped up, huge understatement. And you're sitting there at 3-1 or whatever it is at this point. So hats off to them. Borelli brings a lot of energy to the guys too. His vibe is really good for that program.
Yeah.
Like some coaches, the vibe, they walk in and it takes a long time to move to the coach's sort of cadence.
Yeah.
Borelli came in and it was just like, yeah, we're fine. We're right here already.
Exactly. And just being able to change on the fly like that and find an answer to when, what you're building around isn't going to be there. That's just always that always to me speaks to the coaching and, preparation for the games and getting the guys who aren't necessarily going to be there, getting them ready anyway.
Absolutely. All right, well, that'll do it. I want to say thanks, Dan, for your time. Yeah. Thanks to Megan, our producer, of course, as always. This has been the PA High School Football Report, the 44 Waggle edition. We're just going to keep calling it that. We're going to try to trademark it, you know what I mean, get some cups.
I think you called it 34 earlier.
Did I call it 34?
Yeah.
Well, you can go either way.
Yeah.
You can go either way. You know, you just pick the hole.
Yeah.
But I will take it. We'll take it. And like I said, if you'd like to help us dress up, I don't know what we would even call this room.
Studio.
It's a little bit confined, a little creepy. But so if you would like to help us dress up this place, send whatever you want. Dress is on the website.
We'll be at games on Thursday, Friday,
and Saturday. Yep, Cocoa Bean Bowl to Dan Sostek. I'm going to try to get you invited to the pancake breakfast.
Oh, let's go.
In the morning. It's a hard ticket, but I think I can do it.
There we go.
Yeah, so it's full weekend of football, and again, enjoy yourself. Dress warm. It's long sleeve weather coming up, so that's always good. But thanks again for joining us. We're going to do this again next week. We'll see you.